If you told me a few months ago that I'd feel this hopeful again, I wouldn't have believed you. So this is my journey so far on a GLP-1. The good, the bad, the weird, and the ugly, and what has changed for me. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional. This is not medical advice. I'm just sharing what's worked for me. Always speak to your prescriber about what's right for you. All right, let's get into it. Here's the quick context. I used to be fit and healthy, always. I actually used to be a fitness and health coach. So I wasn't coming into this completely clueless. But the last few years, my body changed and I put on a lot of weight very rapidly, and it felt just impossible for me to lose that weight. So there was a lot of reasons. Perimenopause and menopause was the big one, clearly. Metabolic dysfunction also. I felt like I was fighting a losing battle. I felt like it was a moral failure of mine and that I should be able to be just more disciplined, that I was lazy, but all the things that used to work for me and that I was still doing or trying to do just were not working. And that really messes with your head because you start to think that you're just lazy and not disciplined, you need to try harder. And the truth is, none of those are actually true. It's not a moral failing. It's not something that you've done wrong. It's biology. So for me, this wasn't about wanting a quick fix. It was being really tired of blaming myself and wanting to be healthy again. So I had quite a few issues that were becoming more apparent with the weight gain. So I had sore hips and knees were playing up as well. And I also had sore feet. So I had developed plantar fasciitis, and I also had a stress fracture in one of my feet. So this was brought on by weight gain. And yeah, I knew that I had to do something to lose the weight. So I started looking into GLP-1s and specifically Mounjaro. And I want to reiterate that GLP-1s are not skinny jabs, as the media likes to say that they are. They are powerful metabolic medicines that work on various systems and pathways in your body to fix something that is broken, pretty much, and to help you lose weight and regain a healthy body again. So I'm not going to redo my whole side effects video in this section, but I do want to be real with you because the journey hasn't been entirely smooth the whole way. So the first 4 weeks on this medication was pretty good. I had some side effects, but I felt that I was managing them quite well. But then week 5 hit. And so did the oversuppression and the food aversion hit. So it got to the point where I didn't want to eat. The actual thought of food made me feel really sick and I just could not eat. And that didn't end well. I was to the point where I couldn't actually function. I was lying on the sofa, I was in bed, I was taking time off work. I couldn't go to the gym and train, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything really. I was so fatigued, so nauseous, and just feeling terrible generally. So I was under eating, not on purpose, but I just couldn't face food. I just couldn't. So at that point, I was on the starter dose of Mounjaro, which is 2.5 milligrams, which is what they start everybody on. And that was clearly too much for my body. The way the medications work is that after 4 or so weeks on a particular dose, your body reaches what they call a steady state. So the medication reaches its maximum level. So that's why at around week 5, I was hit with food aversion because the medication had reached its maximum level in my system. It had been building up to that point. But when I got to week 5, it was my body just said, no, not doing this. So I did the only thing I could think of. Well, 2 things I could think of. I first of all made an appointment with my prescriber. That's always what you should do when you have dosing questions or bad side effects or anything else that's bothering you. So I made an appointment with him, but I couldn't get in to see him for a week or so. So my next dose was coming up, sort of the next couple of days, and I couldn't face taking another dose with all the oversuppression and everything that I was experiencing. I just couldn't face taking another dose. So I skipped it. I didn't take my dose. And I saw my prescriber a few days later and spoke to him and explained everything that had gone on. And he confirmed that that was the correct thing to do in this situation, was to skip the dose because it was clearly too high for me. And what we did is we halved my dose, and we restarted me at 1.25, which is half the starter dose. And that worked really well. I still had the slight appetite suppression, and the food noise was gone still, but I could eat. I could feel hunger again, and I could get food back in. So that worked really, really well. So just to reiterate again, I know I've talked about dosing, but these sorts of things should always be discussed with your prescriber and your medical team, and to do what's right for you and your body, always speak to somebody who has the expertise in this area. So I am autistic. I was a late diagnosed autistic. I've been autistic all my life, obviously, but I was formally diagnosed a few years ago. Starting this medication meant a few changes in my normal routine, which took a little bit of getting used to because my brain really likes structure and certainty. So one of the first things I had to do was reduce my portion sizes a fair bit. So not that I was eating huge portions, but I, could eat beyond fullness, like, a lot of us can do when we're not on a GLP-1. So I had to simplify my food and reduce the portion sizes, and also eat more regularly. So practice mechanical eating. So for me, things like, protein first in every meal. I sort of always ate a lot of protein anyway, but eating really simply as well. Like I couldn't really tolerate, and still can't tolerate, really greasy or creamy sort of foods. Again, not that I really indulged in a lot of those sort of foods previously, but if I wanted them, I could have them with no ill effects. So I think I just sort of settled into a bit more of a slightly different routine, which was, the simple meals, frequent meals, smaller meals, and just rotating, I guess, similar things for lunch and dinner and breakfast every day, because I know that those foods work well for me. They make my body feel good, and they don't trigger any sort of side effects. So so that keeps my brain happy. It keeps my body happy. So this has been the biggest shift for me. The food noise is quieter, as I've mentioned. I'm not craving foods or thinking about food, what I'm, when my next meal is, what sort of, not standing at the pantry or opening the fridge and looking for snacks and those sorts of things. I'm just not thinking about food. One of the funniest things, or weirdest things probably, that I realised early on, I used to be a person that had a small piece of chocolate every day. Not, a big bar of chocolate or anything like that, but maybe like a fun-sized Mars bar, or a little Cadbury mini or something like that. And I'd have that sort of every day. And I had a package of little Cadbury minis or Freddo Frogs or something in my pantry that I'd had pre-starting Mounjaro. And that package sat in my pantry for about 3 weeks, and I completely forgot about it. It was there in sight, but I just didn't think about it. I didn't want it. I wasn't searching for it. And when I did actually have a piece of chocolate one day because I just thought, oh, well, I'll just have a piece of chocolate. It was different. Like, it still tasted like chocolate, but the reward pathways in my brain weren't lighting up and going ding, ding, ding. You know, I didn't sort of get that dopamine sort of hit from chocolate. It still tasted good. I sort of ate it and then sort of thought, oh, okay, well, that wasn't, you know, that important. And then just moved on with my day. So that was weird, but that was also probably the first time that I realized, I guess, that this medication is going to work. It was definitely showing that it worked in that way. I'm also not white knuckling it as much, so everything just takes a lot less effort now, which is a good thing. And hunger feels more normal. It's less urgent and less intense. I can actually skip meals, not intentionally, but there has been a couple of times where I have literally forgotten to eat. And that again was a really foreign concept to me. But if I am, you know, out somewhere and it's lunchtime and I haven't eaten anything, I'm not like ravenous and freaking out and, oh my gosh, I must have food, I must have food. I can wait an hour or two until I get home and then I'll have my lunch. So it's just a really different experience. Another thing is feeling full quicker. So I talked about the smaller meals before. I found that I couldn't just sit there and finish my plate. I would put my fork down halfway through and I'd be like, you know what, I just cannot take another bite. And I would either put it away for leftovers for the next day or put half of it in the bin. And I just needed to sort of get used to that, of, you know, that feeling of not being able to eat huge meals or, you know, normal size meals probably. I do have to have much smaller meals now because of that. So that mental relief is amazing, and it's really hard to explain unless you've experienced it, but it's like you have space in your brain again, space to think and space for other things. You're not thinking about food all the time. You're not consumed with thoughts about food, and it's so freeing and just simply amazing. There's no other way that I can describe it. Okay, this is the part I really want to voice. I feel hopeful again. I always felt that this was impossible for me, that I was never going to get back to myself, that I just had to accept that I had gained weight and I was always going to be like this, always in pain, always, you know, not being able to move as freely and just not feeling like myself. So the scale is trending down slowly and steadily. I've lost about 5 kilos so far on a GLP-1. I lost about 4-ish kilos before I started on a GLP-1. So about 9 kilos down so far, which is about halfway to my goal. But it's not just about the weight loss. I've got my mojo back. I'm walking again. I'm training again. I've gotten back to a regular gym habit again. I'm dancing around the house with Pepper, my cat, and I'm making YouTube videos. So that's the definition of being back to me. So I'm still learning about this medication and learning about my body and adjusting as needed. I am still someone who's sensitive to medications, and this one I am sensitive to. So my dose increases have been tiny and measured, and it's worked for me really well. But I'm not scared of this journey anymore. I'm not scared of the medication. I feel free and I feel that things are now possible for me again. I've got my hope back, and that's massive. So thank you for spending your time with me today. I may not make GLP-1 videos going forward regularly, but I did want to document my experience so far. If there is something that you'd like me to cover in the GLP-1 space, let me know and I'll consider it and see if it fits. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.